Awesome. So, hello, can you give us a quick 7-second introduction of who you are?
Okay. I'm Howls. I'm a DJ, a radio show host, and I run events.
So, Tank, what's your go-to Subway order?
Oh my God, Subway. To be honest, I don't eat at Subway.
That's fine. Okay, change it up then. What's your go-to when you're going between shows, when you're at service stations, what are you going to gun for?
Okay. Oh my God. That's a really tough question because in all honesty, I'm like the fussiest eater in the world. I'm actually such a super healthy eater. Do you know what my answer to that would be? I would probably pre-make something and bring it from home.
Like get the Tupperware out.
Literally bring the Tupperware and the fork and bring it with me some nice pre-made healthy curry. That would be the one.
Vegetarian curry, or do you go meat curry?
We do eat meat. Yeah, I didn't used to. I used to be vegan. This is a bit random now.
No. That's the point of these interviews. It's never.
I did, but then I got ill and they were like, you can't be a vegan anymore. So I was like, shit, okay. So I had to eat meat.
So nice sort of chicken curry while scratching on the M5 or something.
Yeah, just eating it on the way up. Yeah.
Awesome. So how did you get into drum and bass, and who's been your biggest influence?
Okay. Gosh, well, I got into drum and bass when I was about 13, which is quite a while ago now. And back then it was that was probably 1994 when I was about that age. And I went to, I had friends that had tape packs, the Helter Skelter tape packs with the puffy sides. And we went to a under 18s Helter Skelter. And that was the first kind of experience of drum and bass because when we went there, all my friends were whistles and white gloves. It was still that time. And they were in the happy hardcore room.
Yeah.
And they had rollers and the Sanctuary in Milton Keynes, if anyone remembers that, back in the day. And in the rollers room, they had drum and bass. And I was just wandering around, wondering what I should do, not really loving the happy hardcore. And went over to rollers and it was saw Stevie Hyper D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there was all those Kenny Ken and people like that.
Goldie?
And, not Goldie, it was Kenny Ken, people like Nicky Black Market.
Yeah.
All those old school DJs. And then from that day forward, I never looked back. I was drum and bass is my
So you
thing.
sort of witnessed the whole sort of development
I've
from
really seen it, yeah. So it was back in the day, it was warehouse raves were a really big thing. And it was so different because you didn't have social media or anything like that. It was no phones.
Finding out from flyers around.
Yeah,
or,
flyers, tape backs, other people, real old school free parties, get the phone number, follow the convoy, shit like that. So it was that was kind of my beginning with drum and bass.
I mean, that's sort of coming back though in a way though, isn't it? The whole...
I think so, more so, yeah. I think free parties, I don't go to so many free parties now, but I definitely know of a lot of people that do, so I think it's coming back.
They are fun, but I mean, I went to Egg Tech, I went to the last one, the one before, and I parked my car way too close to the rigs. I was stuck for hours, and then and then went to the priest, was like, oh, okay, you're gonna shut this down. I was like, nah, you got yourself into this situation, so get yourself out of it. I was like, oh, for God's sake, but nah. It's interesting how the warehouse stuff is coming back though with Printworks, not Printworks, Drum Sheds, for example. That massive IKEA. So clearly that warehouse.
I think it is coming back, and I think also the interesting thing with the social media, the phones, no phones. Lots of raves are saying have no phones because I think they're trying to emulate that experience that it used to be, just people there raving and feeling the vibe and loving it for what it is, rather than filming everything.
Yeah, it's interesting how stuff sort of goes back to the start, but then you sort of improve it every little time.
It goes round.
So being the creator and the main force in Mothership, what's the story behind the brand and sort of why did you choose to create it?
Okay, so when I first started DJing when I was about 18 and on vinyl, and I kind of went through that journey, and there was no women in drum and bass really then. You had some front runners like Rap and Storm and people like that. But my experience of women in the scene was quite small, and it was almost just accepted that it wasn't a thing. And then my life went on a sort of journey, and I did lots of different things. And when I came back round to it, I wanted I had 2 kids basically, and I wanted a little hobby for myself in the evenings. And so I just kind of got back into drum and bass. And when I did that, and I started thinking, okay, maybe I'll try and find someone I can do a little set. I had a first set in Frome in 23 that's gone now, sadly. Big up Toby for putting me on. And the very first set, the very first thing I realised was I felt really isolated. I felt I wanted people around me. I wanted people to experience it with. And So I started thinking, like, how can I like get involved with other people? How can I help other women? Like, there's still not, I couldn't see any other women on the lineup that I was being put on with. So I just came up with the idea to start a radio show. And I'd never done radio before. I was just like convinced this was going to be a good way to like meet other women in the scene and help other women in the scene. So I went to Goat Shed with a proposal, RIP Goat Shed.
RIP Goat Shed,
yeah. And they said, yeah, why not? And so it started there. It will be 3 years old in May. And yeah, just with the passion to like basically support other women. And it's kind of grown from there, really.
Yeah, because you talk about sort of supporting women, and I think it's not even an open secret. It's just a sort of known fact nowadays that lineups are incredibly heavily male dominated. Like you look at festivals. I mean, there's a great report not too long ago by the Jaguar Foundation, and it sort of showed how like the percentage of women on lineups is just it's very like women are just so underrepresented. So that being said, why do you think collectives like Mothership are so important? How do you think that's going to benefit and like create that equality that's needed?
I think it's making noise about the issue. I think it's showing that it's something that is still a problem. Like you see a lot of male-heavy lineups, but it's not even just about supporting women. It's about supporting female identifying. It's about supporting people from the LGBTQ community. It's about supporting ethnically diverse artists. Like there's a real gap with all sorts of like underrepresented people in the scene. The most important thing is just is making a noise. It's a bit like a protest, isn't it? If people don't go on the march, then no one's going to know that there's an issue. And I think it's just raising that issue, but in a really positive way, while supporting people, while making good music, while making people happy, and yeah, growing a movement.
But yeah, like as you say, brands such as Full Spectrum, Bad Bitch Dub, Sex Lady Massive, all those guys.
You got it, yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's definitely like a really positive factor that you guys are doing it. But I think it is on other brands, to adopt that and like try and implement it. And it shouldn't just be the collective saying we're here, we're going to put on our own nights. It should be everyone saying this is all our responsibility and trying to...
Like Mothership has just got the mentorship with hospitality. So I think there are like bigger brands who are trying to like support, sort of underrepresented artists, and they're supporting us and giving us a lot of help in how we can grow and represent within the scene. So I think there is windows for bigger brands to help that, and that's fair play to hospitality for like taking us on and doing that. But I think there's and people like Jungle Cake supporting, and like we started getting gigs with like the Blast and Run. So it is being noticed and people are doing it. But I think also supporting like some of the bigger female artists and putting them at different places on the lineup. You often still see the women a bit earlier on. And so I think it's just trying to have a really mixed lineup, like having policies like let's put at least 50-50, of all these different types of people. Would be important to me to start seeing that.
And the thing is, it gets to a point as well where it'll end up not being forced. So I think it's a bit of a lazy argument at the moment saying, oh well, which females would you put on the line? But so that's not the argument. It's if the opportunities are there and these sort of things, it's normalised to have 50-50 lineups. It'll get to the point where these girls who are smashing it, like trying to think of a few, like Nikki Blackmore's daughter Mills, she's doing bits at the moment. Like there's all these sort of up and coming female talent that. The more they're on the lineup, the more it becomes normalised, and then people, hopefully, touch wood, will forget about these issues in the future.
Yeah. And also it's interesting because, like, just tonight, I came off and these two guys were like, oh, it's really amazing. They were like, who's this chick on the decks? And I was joking. I was like, oh, not bad for a woman. And they were like, no, I didn't mean that, and it's still a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, what's this girl going to do? And then they're like, oh, all right, fair play. She held her own.
Yeah, and I think it must be a bit. I can't speak about it because I'm not from an underrepresented category per se. But like I think that pressure that you guys must sort of sometimes have where it's. Don't think that imposter syndrome is potentially the right word, but that sort of element of like, oh well, how are these people going to react to me and are they going to do it? But are they going to have a negative opinion? But I think the fact that there are all these amazing people from different backgrounds going out and smashing it.
Yeah.
I think that's just going to completely, well, hopefully in the near future erode the sort of the
And I have to
stereotypes.
say, I've been lucky. Like I haven't had any like negative experience so far. I've never had anyone sort of, say, oh, you can't do it because you're a girl or anything like that. And everything that I have worked really hard for has come through people wanting to support us because we're, one, doing something that's important, but two, because we're good artists and not just women. And that's how I felt, and that's been lucky. But I know that's not always the same for everybody. So maybe I'm just lucky, I don't know. But
What's the main decision making behind the choice of like who you want to get involved with Mothership, and like what advice could you give for people that do want to get involved with the project?
okay, so we really don't have much criteria really, in sense of like we just want to help support up and coming artists. So people can apply on our page to play. We'll listen to the mixes, and we just give opportunities. Like there isn't really a kind of like baseline where we say, no, you can't do it. Like we'll be like, yes, if you're a DJ, if you're a musician, if you're an artist and you want to come and be involved, then we will find some way to support you, whether it's through a guest mix, whether it's through the radio show, whether it's playing at one of our events. Like,
And then just message you on Instagram. Like,
yeah, so you can, there's like a form on our Instagram for playing on the Mothership radio. There's a form for doing a guest mix. And then the events, I kind of look around and see like who's popping off at the moment in the kind of the underground, and then we get them involved. So.
We'll make sure to like put that link as well in this, so like if anyone does want to get involved, they can.
Yeah.
So talk about festivals. Boomtown, wrong side of the tracks takeover, incredible.
That was so sick. Big up Guerrilla Tactics for putting us on that.
Mentioned it with Clumsy, like it was rammed, and as well you dodged the rain. So
I know, I couldn't believe it. Like opening, like the people before us, Octopussy, who were also sick, like they opened, and then we got there, and it just was like the whole thing was full, and I just wasn't expecting that, and it was just that was a real experience.
That must be like a proper like sense of accomplishment moment as well. I mean, you got
really
all these people.
And afterwards as well, there was loads of like chatter on groups, and people would see us and be like, "We came to see you. It was sick," and people were like posting the Mothership was sick, and we were like, "Wow, fair play!" Like that was really good.
Do you think that's potentially the best show to date, or do you think there's been another one? And like, what's your favourite city to play it?
I think Bristol's my favourite city to play in, without a doubt. I think that was one of the best sets in terms of the biggest crowd, but actually we also played at Boomtown and we played at in the Bobbies.
Yes.
And that was really sick because it's a bit more intimate and a bit closer. And
Sweatbox though.
Yeah, it is a sweatbox.
Ripping in Boomtown Bobbies.
Yeah, but I have to admit, I think as a DJ, I think I prefer where you're right with the crowd. Like I love that there was such a huge crowd and it's vibing, but I want to kind of like be able to like, almost like high five the people in front of me and like really feel their energy. And I think so, yeah, the Bobbies was really sick as well.
How do you keep motivated in the times where everything just feels a bit shit or a bit overwhelming? Like what's your sort of like strategies for getting through it?
I mean, I think sometimes it is difficult. I think especially in an industry where you're always looking on camera and everything's always like looks polished and shiny. I think I remind myself that knowing the reality of what we look like on Instagram, that the reality behind it is a lot of hard work, hard graft, So when I'm scrolling and seeing other people and I'm like, damn, like that, why aren't we there? I remind myself that it's not real. It's like other people's achievements is great, but they're working just as hard behind the scene. I think it's important not to compare yourself to anybody, to hold true to what you're trying to do, and to remind yourself that if you're getting bookings, if you're doing your radio show, if you're helping other people, then you've already achieved your goal. And so the next thing is just the next best thing. It's not that you haven't achieved what you wanted to do in the first place. Like from having that little tiny mixer on my kitchen table like 3 years ago before I started the radio show, I would never have thought we would have got the bookings that we have now. And that's just come through taking a step forward every day and believing in what we're doing and trying to ignore any sort of negative vibes that you might have in your own head. But it is take breaks on social media is quite good too, I think is important. And just know that you're absolutely killing it and don't worry what anyone else is thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid statement. Yeah. So, done through January now, but 2025, what's one thing that you want to take out of the drum and bass scene and one thing that you want to put into it? It could be UK based, scene as a whole, general, specific.
Yeah. I really enjoy seeing like groups of people, like collectives performing. I think that would be nice. You get a lot of like solo DJs and the big names, but I think, you get like collectives of people behind the decks. That's always really fun. Lots of back-to-backs, lots of big energy. I really want to see more of that at the bigger sort of headline stage because I think people really love that and love it when like sets are like changed up with all the different vibes. So that would be something to put in. Take out, I think... take out the fact that it's so hard to put on events. There's no money in it, and you have to do it as a passion project, and you have to put all your own money into it. So take out that there is no money, and try and add in that some of the bigger things. Because you've got people like Live Nation, you've got people like Spotify who are making millions. There is money in this industry, but none of the artists are getting that. None of the grassroots are getting that. And I think that is something I would take out, that those big sort of corporations are making all the money off the back of all the people who are actually creating the music, and actually they need to share the love. So I'd definitely be taking that out and getting them to put the money back in.
Yeah, I think that policy they got now, where like 1% of ticket sales will go to grassroots venues.
Yeah.
I think that's like definitely like a positive step. But you're right,
It is positive, but you
so
know,
much
you
more
get
can be done.
Spotify could be doing so much better. Sorry if that's not a good thing to say, but and like Live Nation, they're making millions. And like, it's just, that's not cool in my mind.
Yeah.
Sorry if that's too taboo. Maybe you
No,
want
I
to cut
think
that,
that's
but
fair enough.
I think it's totally fair.
Well, I think that's maybe lost us our Spotify podcast. Nah, I'm only having.
You can cut it if you want.
No. So, finally, do you think there's anything else to add? Like people that you want to shout out, anything that you want to like give a platform to?
I really want to shout out other female collectives that are doing this sort of thing. You know, and I want to shout out promoters in general who are trying to put on nights, because it really isn't easy. So any promoters, what size you are, whether you're small, big, like even the biggest promoters, they're struggling, they lose money all the time. And I think anyone who's trying to do that deserves a massive pat on the back and a big shout out. And just a massive shout out to the scene in general, like all the artists, all the producers, the MCs, the singers, you know, and everyone that makes the sort of industry, even down to like the security and the bar staff. Like the scene isn't it if you don't have all of that. And the ravers. Yeah, and I want to shout out to Younique and the DJ Academy, the AAA DJ Academy that we are starting with Lakota. Big up Lakota. We are launching it in March. There's going to be a session every week you can join, and it's for all abilities. There's beginners, there's more advanced. We've got myself and Younique as the main lecturers, but we're going to have guest lecturers from like big artists in the scene, and you can get involved. You can get advice on production as well. You can get advice on just even like how to start and sort your record box out. You can get support with like actually getting gigs. Some of the people on it will get promoted through Lakota as well. So it's a really, really great opportunity for DJs to network as well as like learn new skills.
Awesome.
So, yeah, sign up.
Right, link will be again, link in the bio.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Bosh.
Peace.